Yes, coming up.
Okay. So the next video will be the citation for our guest speaker today, Dr. Tammy Francis, and she's in the house already.
𝙈𝙀𝙆𝙀𝙀 speaker's profile. Tammy Francis. Tammy Francis, Ph.D., the Catalyst, the founder of Catalyst for Change Global LLC and co-founder and chief strategy officer of Utidia, is a global educator, strategist, consultant, author, and speaker. She has taught for over 23 years in grades 6 to 12 and higher education. Dr. Tammy helps others move in the direction of more and prepare for what's next at pivotal moments and through career transitions with purpose on purpose. Dr. Tammy has a holistic approach to learning and development, talent development. She helps others leverage the opportunities of the digital economy and emerging technologies. Dr. Tammy helps you create a strategy to upskill, reskill, and retool and provide access to resources to assist in your transition and growth. Dr. Tammy helps others remain competitive during the digital transformation. She also empowers and equips leaders, entrepreneurs, educational institutions, and business startups all over the world with purpose-driven creative business solutions. Dr. Tammy is a futurist, preparing for the future of businesses, the future of work, and the future of education and learning. Ladies and gentlemen, make welcome Dr. Tammy Francis, founder, Catalyst for Change Global, who will be speaking on the topic, Mentorship, a path to becoming more.
Wow, what a profile, what a profile. There's no other person qualified to take us on the journey of becoming more other than our esteemed Dr. Tammy. Dr. Tammy, can you hear us? You're muted.
I can hear you. Can you hear me?
You're welcome, Dr. Tammy. We're so glad to have you here.
So good to be here. Thank you so much for having me. Thank you so much for allowing me to share a little bit of what I know with everyone around the world. This is amazing. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Dr. Tammy, can you hear us?
I can hear you. You want me to get started? Oh, okay.
All right.
Thank you all. Love what's going on in the chat. We can't hear you. Are you talking?
Yes, so no, you can start. I think she.
Okay.
Yeah, you can go ahead to start.
Okay, all right. I just wanted to make sure I was good, that there wasn't something else before I got started. Thank you so much. I appreciate you. So let me just, I thank you for that introduction, by the way. Wow. Can you say wow? Thank you. I appreciate that for you sharing that. So I'm going to share my screen and we're just going to dive right into it. So a disclaimer though, for you all. I am really about being purpose-driven. So we're definitely going to tackle that. And I must say, I love the topic. I love the theme of this year's anniversary because my platform, if you don't know anything about my platform, if you go back as far as 2016, 2017, my platform is all about more. Everything that I do has more in it. Reap more, manifest more, become more, all of that. So I really love the become more and this idea of more that's a part of your messaging for this particular event and what you're doing. Oh, the alignment is amazing. So here we go. Let's just do this. And if you can't see my screen, let me know. It should be popping up shortly if it's not there yet.
Very clear. We can see it very clearly.
Awesome. Awesome. So that's what we're going to be talking about. We're going to be talking about mentorship, and that's what this platform is about, but more so this path of becoming more and what that could look like and the different ways you can take advantage of what you have here. I think this environment that has been created is perfect for you becoming more. So I always say this, like in the chat, definitely feel free to talk to me, come to me. I will say that I'm sharing my screen, so I may not be able to see them in real time, but I will definitely toggle over, or at the end, I'll answer questions. I'll take questions. We can go back and do that. So if you have questions, put them in the chat and I will scroll up, or I'll have someone monitoring the chat to check those out for me to make sure I don't miss anything. And so just know that some of the things that I say may be a little different, but we got this. We got this. So what I want to talk about today is really going into talking about this idea of becoming more, that part of the title. I think that part of the title is the most important, and I want to do that. And I'm a teacher. So if you don't know anything about me, I am a traditional educator in a traditional educating session. So therefore, I want you to know that I always start from a place of definitions. And so let me just say that. So because I am in this traditional setting and I am into educating, we're going to start there. But then I'm going to talk about what I do. So a lot of what I do and my work that I do, I have a mastermind even coming up soon that I do with the people that I work with, is we always start from a place of purpose and doing things purpose driven and doing some purpose planning around that. And then looking at, we'll look at mentorship from that lens. And it may be slightly different or may give you more of a focus. I'm hoping, because you have been involved in this program for a while, for 4 years now, this program has been in existence. So 4 years of those of you who are involved or alumni of the program, I want to just talk about some ways you can leverage it and think about it as well. May not be anything new, but I hope that it's a reminder and a place where you can go back to revisit that. So let's take the word become. So I love words and I love looking at definitions of words. And to become is this idea of to change, to come, change, or grow to be. So the thing is to grow to be. And I like this idea of transformation and growing. Y'all, like everything that I do, that's why I really like this topic, is talking about transition, transformation, and this idea you see butterflies throughout my brand as well, because that metamorphosis and going through that process and doing things in a cocoon experience, in a cocoon environment and a small group experience, because that also foster growth, which is why I really like the platform and that it offers opportunities for you to do that. So to become is to change or to grow. If you think of it even as a verb, right, it's even perfect as well. To be suitable or necessary to the dignity, situation, or responsibility of. Oh my goodness. So everything that you are striving for, your goals, you want to be suited for it, right? You want to be in a position for those goals. You want to be prepared for whatever it is you're meant to do. And so just looking at the definition is a whole, as my pastor says, a whole sermon in itself. And so I can do a whole speech, whole message just on the 2 words, like not even getting into, I'm a teacher. Did I say that? So you're going to have homework. So, without even getting into the homework, I can do a whole lesson on just the words, right? And looking at the words. And so if you think about that, to change or to come and to become, to be, right? To grow, to be, we're looking at more, right? So both of these are in my tagline. I always introduce myself, and I didn't today because of that amazing introduction, but I'll tell you so you know what my tagline is. So when I refer to it, it makes sense to you what my platform is about and what I do. I usually introduce myself when I come onto live broadcasts and interviews and say, I am Dr. Tammy. I am your strategist, educator, and speaker. I help you move in the direction of more and prepare for what's next. And so so that's my tagline. That's what you'll see it everywhere. Any videos you watch of me on any platform, Facebook, YouTube, you'll hear me say that. And it's because I'm getting you to move in the direction of more. So when you think about grow to be and more, is this idea of movement for one. You're doing something. And so the adjective of it is additional, right? So not only are you going to grow to be, but you're going to do more. And I always say, think bigger than you're big, right? To go bigger. And I'm in Texas in the USA, in case you didn't know that. And in Texas, we have this saying, go big or go home. And so when we're talking about becoming more, you're going to do something additional, right? An additional quantity, amount, or number. And it's this idea of movement. I want to keep that in the back of your head, is this idea of grow to be more. Let's put them together. Grow to be more, right? And to grow in the amount of whatever you're doing. So that's what we're talking about today. So in order to do that, we have to start looking at ourselves. So I'm going to go through these next slides kind of quickly because I just want to get you from a place of where we're all in the same thinking as far as the definitions and what I'm talking about. And before I get to purpose, what do I mean by purpose? So we're going to talk about self-awareness. We're going to talk about purpose. We're going to talk about vision. And we're going to talk about one other word that we may not want to address. So self-awareness. Many people think self-awareness is about what you like and what you don't like. I'm here to add, to give you more to that definition. The definition is really, if you look it up in the dictionary, it's the ability to understand our impact on others. So it's more than what you like and don't like, what you want to do and what you don't want to do. It's also your ability to understand our impact on others. That's truly self-awareness. So as you're embarking on whatever it is that's next for you, keep that in mind. How am I going to impact others? Now, and others may include yourself. Hello, are you with me? Hello, that may also include yourself. So that's something to keep in mind. But self-awareness is that impact, and it's all about impact, right? Grow to be more. Now, here's the word that we don't like to talk about, and we talk about sometimes only one-sided. We talk about the external factors that cause resistance. The other thing is when you're growing to be more, when you are becoming more, when you are growing to be greater, right? Sometimes there is resistance. And many people think resistance is typically their finances. They think it's maybe their family members, someone outside of themselves. Let me just say resistance is internal. It is what's inside of you. Avoidance, self-doubt, procrastination, fear, all those things are considered resistance. And that's part of resistance. That's how we experience resistance. And let me just say, if you've ever experienced a time when you didn't want to do something, when you were afraid to do something, when you doubted yourself in doing something, you probably felt it in one of two places. In your chest, in the middle of your chest. If it was fear, you probably wanted to, we always say, and here in the United States about puffing your chest, you had that feeling that you wanted to do something. Usually it's fear creates anger. Anger is paired with that. And sometimes that's it, but fear, or you feel it in your belly. One of the two places. You get the butterflies in your belly, in your stomach. Sometimes resistance come in that way. And so I'm just saying this to be aware that when you become more self-aware, part of that self-awareness is not only the impact, the positivity you're putting out in the world, but it's also, what are some of those things that scare you? Where are some places you have doubt that you need to stop and take a breath and think about what's happening in this moment? So one of the things that I like to encourage people to do when they are in places where they need, when they're in the space of they're trying to become more, they're on this path, they want to be more, is to stop and get grounded in positivity. Part of getting grounded in positivity is saying affirmations. And I like I am affirmations, but I will say I am affirmations is only the start. There are others that you have to feel, and I always connect those with the chakras, but I'm not going to get into that today and the places on our body and where we feel things. So I'm not going to get into that today. I'm just going to talk about the I am, because that's where I want you to start. First homework assignment, first task is to make sure that you have some I am statements. And if you do have them, revisit them, check them, make sure they're still relevant, they still fit you, and you're still motivated and inspired by them. And so today, I'm not going to have you put it in the chat unless you want to, but I do want you to start that process in order to get to the I am statements you really need. Sometimes we need to acknowledge what we're not. We need to make sure that we are not giving into what we're not. So here's an activity you can do on your own tonight, or, or later tonight. I think it's already late there, but a little later tonight after I'm done, or you can do it right now and you can put some in the chat. That's fine too. We'll talk about those or share those in a moment. But I am, put something in that blank, but I am not. Right? And I encourage you to do 5 of those, because I think that way you can focus on what you are and not what you are not, and give energy to what you are. I hear a lot of people when they're giving compliments, they're always saying, no, that's not me. No, right? No, we're getting rid of that. We're going to focus on what you are. And for those things that you don't yet believe, you're going to say thank you. That's all you got to do is just say thank you. All right. So I see in the chat going, so I'm thinking some of those are in the chat. And so I am more, I am not less. I love that. I am phenomenal. I am not a procrastinator. I am unstoppable. That is my favorite. That is one. I actually have a t-shirt. Today I'm wearing the one that says, you can't really see it, but it says I am global. My brand is about affirmations, but I have a line of shirts that have affirmations. I have I am limitless. I am unstoppable. I am essential. That one came out of the pandemic. I am essential. And then because I'm in the Web3 space, I have the one I am a non-fungible. So I love these. I am unique and not another person. Ooh, I love that. I am unique. I am amazing. Yes, just take out the not. Yeah, I love this. So those are great. Thank you for sharing. I appreciate that. So what is our purpose? Your purpose is we use our gift to serve others with passion. So what are you passionate about? What do you truly love? What do you desire? And come get to your purpose. That's a whole process of discovering and uncovering that. But if you connect, what are you passionate about? And what is your purpose? And then ask yourself, am I doing that? Am I doing that either as a volunteer? Am I doing that in my internship or mentorship? Am I doing that in my job or career? Am I doing that? And if not, it's time to work out some alignment. And that's when we get into vision. What is your vision? What is your plan for the future? What is your plan for what's next? This particular talk is talking about a path to becoming more. And of course, we're going to talk about how you can use mentorship later to do that, but a path to becoming more. So first, you got to figure out what that more is, because you can't bring other people into the mix until you know about yourself. And so vision is the ability to think about or plan for the future with imagination, creativity, or wisdom. Ooh, I love that. Right? Or wisdom. So it's not just knowledge, it's wisdom. So you talk to wise people. We'll talk about mentorship later. So just remember that word wisdom is here, because that goes into being wise. And how do we get wise? We'll talk about that. Right? So let's talk about some things. Let's move on into some of this purpose planning. So one of the things that I do, and part of my brand, my 4 pillars are clarify your vision. That's what I'm talking about right now. Create an action plan. We're not going to do that because that's a whole process, but I am going to give you some homework to do pieces of that. Execute a strategy. That's putting some action behind it. Remember, we're moving, we're becoming more. So we're moving. So to become more, to become greater, to add to what you're doing, we've got to do that. And then, of course, monetize it. We have to monetize what we do. We got to make money. We got to make a living. We have to make sure that we're getting our value. So that is always a possibility, number 4. Number 4, some people are not there yet, but number 4 is always a step in my process. So one of the things that I like for people to look, and you may have seen this before circling around the internet, if you've ever been surfing or you probably seen it scrolling on one of your social media platforms, but this is the Ikigai. And this particular graphic talks about the reason for being, and it connects your passion, what I just talked about, your mission, that impact, right? Your vocation and your profession. and it connects all of those to come up with your Ikigai. What do you love? What are you good at? What does the world need? And what can you get paid for? So you see how this kind of connects to my 4 pillars, connects to the other terms that we're talking about. I'm hoping you're seeing the progression and that going. Because this is so important to start thinking about. And it can be complicated because sometimes what you can get paid for, you don't necessarily love. Sometimes what you're good at, the world may not need it. And so to find that sweet spot, I like to say, takes a bit of work, right? So I'm going to encourage you to think about that and find that sweet spot. Find that spot in the middle where you can do this, right? Find that point where you can come up with pieces of all of these and what you're doing for the future, right? So part of this, and I will say some of these things you can apply to your personal life. I'm talking about it more in career. That's what I talk about, is leveling up in what you're doing, whether it's entrepreneurship or working for someone or creating something like a nonprofit or doing something like that, right? Or serving on something that you're doing or an organization that you're doing. You should always do these steps. You should think about things and reflect. So one, I like to talk about career pathing and making sure that when we're being purpose-driven, when we're talking about becoming more, right? We've got to know what we want to do. We got to know what our goals are. And so in order to do that, we've got to create an action plan for your personal career development. And this process is personal. It's all personal. It's something you do on your own. In order for you can't seek out a mentor. You can't seek out mentorship programs until you know more about you, until you know what you want to do in your goals. So set specific steps to achieve your goals. And I will say later, a mentor can also help you with some of these things and help it move a little faster. Requires knowledge, skills, and personal traits required. So you have to know about yourself. What do you truly bring into the table? What skills and training do you currently have? And identify those specialized skills and additional training. All right. What are some things that you may need? What are some additional things you may need in the future? So a lot of things, I said I was the futurist. So I think about the future and preparing for the future, being competitive for the future. So whatever you're doing, whatever your next is, whatever your more is, to make sure that it's meeting the future demands, the demands of the future. And right now, the future is tech. And the future is involving more technology. And I'll talk about that in a moment too, before we get into mentorship more deeply. Identify hidden skills. Maybe there's some skills that you have that you haven't really uncovered or discovered. And so therefore you need to take some moment to reflect and really acknowledge those, right? Being self-aware and create a culture of talent mobility. You know, your talents and the things that you learn should be able to flow across different industries and the different things that you do. I'm a teacher, but I teach several things. I teach literacy, but I also teach Web3, blockchain technology. So the skills that I learned with teaching when I taught reading and writing, those should also flow when I'm teaching. And I should also be able to use some of those same skills when I'm teaching about blockchain technology, when I'm teaching about Web3 and NFTs and metaverse and stuff. Those same skills should flow. So when I talk about mobility, that means those skills and training you're using should be able to support you in other things that you're doing. Okay. All right. So this is basically what I've talked about so far. Before I move on to mentorship, kind of a little summary is one, to know yourself, explore options. What are some of the options out there? Get focused. What is it you really want to do? What are some of the things you really want to do? Make some decisions around what's next for you, and then take action. Take action. And this is a cycle. So even though you've done it already, it may be time to do it again, right? We may have to do it again and again. So keep that in mind. Like, this is a cycle. But I will say, like I said, the future is technology. So you're probably hearing a lot about Web3. And I don't think we're at Web3 yet. I think we're at Web 2.5, but that is where we're moving. And Web3 is about being a creator, being an owner of what you create. And so that can look like a lot of things. And because it can, when you're starting to think about what do you want to do next, I want you to think about what can you create What can you own? And are you incorporating technology? Are you learning technological skills? Because that's something that I encourage you to have on back today. I'm a non-tech person, but I do know enough about tech, one, to be dangerous, and two, to have skills that will help me do other things. So just so you know, because the future of work, the future of what we're doing is technology, right? A lot of what we're doing is going into automation, is training and development, skills development, and it's eliminating some of those barriers to opportunities. And that's what I'm talking about today. Know about yourself so you will know what you can, make sure that you're aligned with the appropriate opportunities. And so that way you can take advantage of them, right? And eliminate some of those barriers by doing some of these other things, right? Having skills that you can take with you. So 3 things I want to mention as you're thinking about the future and you're planning is, are you at a time you need to upskill, meaning learn a whole new skill? You need to learn a new skill and add to what you're doing, which is what I've been talking about today. More, additional, right? I've been talking about that. Further, right? Learning something more. It may be that just to deepen your expertise on a certain area and exposure to deeper knowledge. You may need to reskill, meaning what you're doing is not serving you and not paying the bills, or you noticing that the jobs are being replaced by machines or automation or AI. What are some of those things? Maybe it's time to reskill, meaning learn a whole new skill that you never have tried or learned before. That's a possibility. And if you upskill or reskill, you may need to retool. Maybe what you're doing and where you're working is perfect, but some of your systems are outdated. Maybe some of the things that you're doing are outdated. Maybe a goal of yours is to learn a new software, to learn something new. I know some people who are really partial to certain platforms. When we're talking about software and platforms, they are particular to certain ones, but there's new ones developing. Have you looked into those? Is that something you still need to do? Or is an Excel spreadsheet still serving you? Just to use that as an example. So these are 3 things when you're thinking about goal setting, when you're thinking about purpose planning, when you're thinking about what it is you need to do and where you are. These are 3 areas you can kind of think about. Do I need to just add some skills, upskill? Do I need to reskill, learn something totally new and different? Do I need to retool? Yeah, do I really need to switch lanes, or do I just need to add something, right? So just something, I had to put that in there because that's a lot of what I talk about. So this was a selfish slide. I must be honest, this one, because I wanted to make sure that I mentioned that. So, and with all that information, start writing all this down. Write the Ikigai, write the answers to all the questions I've asked you today. Put all that on a sheet, which will make a collage, make it visual. Don't put it on the computer. Write it on a piece of paper. Old school Web 2, write it down. That really helps. And that's a whole brain thing, but we're not going to get into that either. But I encourage you to write it. If you only can do it on your device, your phone or your computer, then that's fine. But definitely take a piece of paper and a pen or pencil and write all these things down that I mentioned. Because when you're talking about, when you want to seek out mentorship, when you want to be mentored, that it's important to know much about yourself, okay, in order to do that. So let me just give you some statistics. So mentees are promoted 5 times more often than those without mentors. Mentors themselves are 6 times more likely to be promoted. So some of you may be in a position to mentor because you have all these skills, you have all this experience, but now it's time for you to mentor others. We know that more than 85% of those who had a mentor become who are mentees, and who had a mentor become mentors. So so just know that if you if you are a mentor, if you are in this program and you're at a point where you're transitioning and doing some other things, but there's new mentees coming on board, even though you're in this program, you can still mentor other people. Like sometimes that network peer mentoring works as well. 89% of those with mentors believe their colleagues value their work, compared to 75% who do not. So those who are mentored have more confidence 87% of mentors and mentees feel empowered by their mentoring relationships and have developed greater confidence. So mentorship does wonders for your career, but also you personally. So you'll notice that I have a theme where I'm talking about you personally, but I'm also talking about you professionally. That's exactly what mentorship does. It gets us to think about, and it addresses both of those things. So let's talk about a mentor versus a coach and a sponsor. Many people get these confused. A mentor is a seasoned professional, a guide. They give you direction. A mentor is not one that's going to spend hours and hours and hours and hours and hours and hours with you for free. They're not going to do that for free, but they will answer questions. They will have a phone conversation. They may even schedule a virtual video conferencing meeting. They may do some of those things, but it won't be all every day, and it won't be all the time, and it won't be as often as someone who's getting paid. So, but a mentor is there to guide you. They give you the information. They may have the knowledge. They may have the skills. They are very seasoned in your area. Now, I say may, y'all heard the word may, because some mentors are personal mentors. Sometimes they're helping you with personal aspects of your personality. Sometimes they're helping you with other things and not professionally. So if it's professionally, they probably will have the same skills. If they're helping you personally, they probably can, they have those skills, but they also can see what you don't see. They can help you with those things that may be missing. Whereas a coach, they help you do the same things. They help you clarify your goals. They also help you identify obstacles holding you back. They even come up with strategies, but they do more than just point you in the right direction. They actually walk you through the process. And typically a coach is paid. You pay a coach. That's their job. They're sometimes labeled consultants. That's what they do. And a sponsor can be either a mentor or a coach. A sponsor is that person who speaks your name when you walk in a room. That sponsor is the one that will recommend you. Many people have approached me and wanted me to be their mentor, but they really wanted me to speak their name in a room, but I didn't know them well enough. I didn't know them enough to know that I wanted to share their name. I didn't want to put my reputation on the line because I didn't know them yet. So mentor, you have to establish a relationship, right? And then in hopes that they will become a sponsor. They will know you well enough to then speak your name in a room where you are not, maybe a room you can't even go into because of where the level where you are professionally or personally. And maybe it's not a space where you hang out or visit or want to be yet, right? Because you don't even know about it. You are not aware of it. But a sponsor can do that. A sponsor can do that. And so be very clear about the three, because it's going to go into what we talk about later about expectations. Mentorship. When we're talking about mentorship, you have to know about yourself, because mentorship is a relationship. It is a relationship. And so you have to make sure that you nurture it as a relationship. To assist, it helps you. The person will help you in your career, professionally or personally. And so they can help you with that development. Could be a one-on-one relationship. As I said, like that's a possibility, but it can also be a group. And that's what Doc has created here, right? Is this group, this mentorship programming group, an opportunity for you. There are 4 stages of a mentorship. So preparation, get to know someone, right? As I said, I mentioned this one already, and see if the mentor is a good fit. Just because people do well in their career and what they do, they may not be a good fit. They may not fit you personality-wise. I'm not going into personality tests, but there's several personality tests out there that I recommend you take to learn about yourself. And those personality tests will make sure that you know like who you would connect with and who you would, as my students say, my young students say, they vibe with you, right? You have a good vibe. That same thing, right? Negotiation. You have to set ground rules for a mentor-mentee relationship. When you're talking about a mentorship, you got to have ground rules established. You got to decide what format, right? Or am I going to check in with you once a month? Or are we going to just talk periodically? When I need something, I call you. What does that look like? Communication, all of that, you have to kind of establish. And growth, mentorships, then it moves into the growth. When those things, then you can grow. What are we talking about today? To become more, grow to be more, to grow to be additional, to do more, to be greater. And so because of that, part of the mentorship is to help you do that. And that's how you can leverage it. That can help you on your path to become more, is when you have that mentor to help in your confidence and your ability and your skills and direct you in the right place, so you know what to take advantage of. And at some point, you may decide there's this idea of closure, and this cycle can continue over and over again, right? It doesn't have to end. A mentorship doesn't have to end. A mentor can be in your life forever. It just depends on the relevance and your goals and what benefit and what this relationship is serving for you, right? But at some point, you've definitely got to express gratitude, discuss the outcomes, did what they suggested, their advice. Did it work? Did it not work? And identify some positive benefits. What are some things that did come out of it? What are some positive things that came out of that relationship? So those are the 4 stages. And I'm going to encourage you to do a few things. As I told you, a mentor is just there to guide you, but you also got to get to know them. And so you don't want to just ask someone you meet on the first time, probably, to be a mentor. You want to get to know them. So be selective, set your goals. What do you want to achieve? Establish communication expectations. When you do this, keep the content and the business of that relationship confidential. Many people who are mentors, a mentorship and a consultant or coaching relationship looks very different. And so some of the same things they're helping you with may be things that they charge for. So you got to be careful in sharing some of that information with others, because that could be confidential information. So not only the relationship itself, but the content of the relationship and the arrangement, like what agreement do you have for that relationship? You shouldn't be telling everybody that business, so to speak. It's built on trust. So because it is built on trust, you got to keep that in mind. Part of that trust is making sure that you know what should and should not be kept confidential in that relationship. And then reflection. It involves reflecting on that relationship and making sure it works. So let's talk about some of the benefits. Mentorship, a path to becoming more. So one is recognizing the benefits of a mentorship relationship, right? Mentors support your growth. Mentors serve as a source of knowledge. Mentors can help set goals. Mentors maintain accountability. So those are the people you check in with, and when you have a deadline, they give you a deadline, maybe, if you're one that likes deadlines, and they do that. Mentors can offer you constructive feedback. So be open to that. It's constructive, it's for your good. And then of course they offer encouragement. Keep going, you got this. Yes, right? So here's your homework, and I'm done. And I'll answer questions about this path to becoming more, but I got to give you where you start. So let me give you my homework for you. 1, you're going to write down your goals. You're going to do all the things that we talked about today. You're going to focus on that ikigai. You're going to think about, what are you good at? What do you love to do? What are you passionate about? What does the world needs and what you can make money doing? Make some goals and just choose one. Choose one to reassess or to revisit. Maybe even put dates to it on when you want to achieve it. And then list the type of mentor or mentors you need for a goal. Some goals, you may need a business mentor, you may need a tech mentor, you may need one for personal development. Maybe you have anger management issues or something, you need a mentor for that. List out the types of mentors you need, and then look in your network. Look at those that are around you. This program offers some options for you, so look into it and select people who would be perfect to guide you in that area, and whatever areas are related to that goal. Right? And then what are some clear expectations or goals for a relationship with those people? What do you want? How do you want to best tap into their knowledge and their skills? And then set up a meeting, draft a message, email for that person. If it's not someone that you will meet with initially, maybe it's someone that you want to just send a message to get to know first, do that. And then it's repeat. So I always tell people to assemble your board of mentors. And it's more than one person. Mentors are typically more than one. You can have one primary one, but your mentors should be aligned with your goals. So you'll see on this chart for your homework is once you have your goals listed, also list the mentors or the resources you need for those goals, because they should align. Assemble your board of mentors. And the board of mentors is probably in this community, but set that up, right? Set that up and establish it and be clear about it. So that is your homework. That's your homework. I'm done. I'll answer questions, but just know that we are on the path to becoming more. And here's my contact information. You can definitely reach out to me, definitely connect with me. I look forward to connecting more with the community. And I'm going to stop sharing now. And thank you so much. So
thank you so much, Dr.
more.
Thank you
You're
so
welcome.
much. Please, if you have any questions, indicate in the chat box.
Yes, and I'll scroll up because I missed a lot.
Okay. Any questions, you can raise up your hands and indicate in the chat box.
Woo! I did it in 5 minutes, by the way. I just want you to know you gave me 5 minutes and I did it.
You did it, yeah. Thank you, Doc. Questions? Okay.
Oh, yes, someone said it, yes. And you can have a person that's a coach, a mentor, and a sponsor. So yes, Mary Rose, you can have someone who's all three, but just know they can be different things. And some of those require payment. So, but you can have a coach who speaks your name and they also mentor you, especially after your paid relationship ends, they may remain as your mentor. So yes. So who do we have? Let me see.
Yes, Feba, I see we have Onyema God's time. You can unmute him to ask his question.
Onyema, can you raise your hand, please?
Yeah, it's raised. I've asked him to unmute so he can go ahead.
Okay, everyone. Good evening. Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you, Onyema. Go ahead. Onyema, you're muted. I'm asking you to unmute now.
Okay, yeah, thank you so much. Okay, thank you so much, Dr. Tammy. The session was incredible. And thank you so much, Dr. Casey, for setting up such an amazing meeting with Dr. Tammy. And my question is this, talking about mentors, is there a strategic way to reach out to people we see that are doing things that would love to do, or people that have reached out, that have gone places we would love to go, such that we'll get positive reply or positive feedback from them? Sometimes you reach out to people and they don't reply back the messages. So is it a constructive way to like reach out to this person to get the best feedback? Thank you, ma'am.
Oh, you're so welcome. And I love this question because this happens to me all the time. And I will tell you the ones that I ignore. There's some people that come into my DMs I've never met before in my life. They may have followed me on LinkedIn, and then they come into my inbox and they say, can you help me with this or that? Like they're immediately asking me for something, right? As opposed to saying, this is who I am. You know, I'd like to meet you. I like to get to know you, right? There's a process. You know, not everyone is your mentor. Just because they look good on social media, just because they look good in the spaces that they play or occupy, doesn't mean they're a good mentor and a good fit for you. So you have to get to know them. And then some people, the reason some people will say ignore those is because when some people come into my box, what they're asking me is for something I do in my consulting or coaching, right? They're wanting me to do something more than just get to know them and answer one question that takes 3 to 5 minutes. And I have an 8-minute rule. If anything takes over 8 minutes, if I don't know you and you know, we don't have a relationship where we have an established mentorship relationship. After 8 minutes, it's a fee, right? I don't literally, we charge, right? So it may not be exactly 8 minutes, but I'm just saying, like, some people have that. And so when you go into someone's inbox, you got to be very careful on evaluating that relationship. Is it an established relationship? Is it new? Now, if you have been interacting with this person for months, years, and that's a different type of approach, then you can kind of go in and say, hey, we haven't talked in a while. I'd like to catch up. I have a proposition for you. I have something that I want to share with you. And, then they're more likely to say, yes, let's reconnect, right? But if it's someone you've never met before, you've got to remember, this is a relationship. Mentorship is a relationship. And with any relationship, now I'm going to say this, and this is probably inappropriate, so I apologize, Doc. But I don't recommend you sleep with someone on the first date or before you know their first name. So you've got to know them a little bit before you do things that, and to help someone isn't intimate, right? It's an intimate thing because I'm sharing my knowledge, my IP, the things, my intellectual property with someone else. So you've got to be very careful when we're talking about expectations too, right? Evaluating that relationship and being very careful about, like, what is your approach? What did you put in that message, right? Was it you wanting something, needing something? I have somebody that comes in and they immediately ask for money. They think I'm rich. I'm not rich. Just because I'm in America doesn't mean I'm rich. I'm on the low end. I'm on the poor status in America, right? So it's not the same for everyone. But some things like that are really interesting. And so sometimes people are off-put by that. Now, I will say some people may not just check their DMs. Some people just don't even check them at all. So that may not be the method of communication that's for them. And that may be why they're not responding. But definitely evaluate, get to know a person before you ask something. Give before you get. And that's kind of the way I've been raised, and I do. So a lot of the things that I do is I give before I start requesting and asking or, receiving something. I know that was a long answer, but that was a soapbox for me because it happens a lot. And I feel for some people who get discouraged by that, but it's really their approach. Your approach is very important. Sandra.
All right, Sandra, I've asked it to mute.
All right, Mom. Dr. Tammy, I'm so grateful for the privilege, Mom. And so my question is it possible for me being a mentee to have a mentor that is not so close, that is he or she is a very long distance person, and I am actually submitted to this person to build a personal relationship with the person so that the person can actually mentor me? Is it possible for me to have a close relationship with a mentor of such type?
Yes. So you got to think it's a relationship. And now with technology, things are so much easier to maintain relationships. Not only distance, proximity, but even skill level, right? You can always do that. You always want to choose a mentor where you want to be, where you want to go. And so with technologies, those barriers are there. There's some people that I met one time. We had a conversation, maybe about 30 minutes to an hour. We connected, and immediately it was one of those things. But so part of that self-awareness is paying attention to your chest, paying attention to your gut, your belly, right? Making sure that none of those red flags, those bad vibes are there, and listen to yourself. You know when someone is a good fit for you, and you know when someone is not. And so just pay attention to that. And I think you can make any mentorship relationship work. It's just a matter of you being aware if it's a good fit or not. And you don't have to know them years for somebody to be your mentor. They don't have to be in your same country these days. You just have to establish those rules, those ground rules on what it looked like. And if it's a project, maybe you're working on a project together, you're actually creating something. I've seen people even get into a full-blown business. Now that's a difference because you got to think of that's like a marriage. So you got to be a little more careful when it's a business. But for a project, something that you're creating that you both can use and both benefit from, that's different. So you can do it at any level. So I don't discourage any kind of mentorship. I just really want people to think about it. It's a relationship. So just be mindful and just listen to yourself. I hope that answered your question.
Okay. Chijoke, I'm asking you to unmute. Chijoke.
Hello, good evening, everyone. I've been waiting to be unmuted all along. Please confirm if you can hear me.
We can hear you.
Yeah, thank you very much, Doc, for the insightful session so far. I would admit to the fact that you've really given out more insight without your slide than during your slide. So
I always do.
all right, Doc. So where I currently work, I work in the IT space. So I got in as an entry-level trainee, but currently I've had the opportunity of leading other people. So currently I got assigned to lead a team of younger trainees. And all through my period of stay, I had this observation that people come to me to mentor them. And sometimes I begin to wonder, what do they really see special? Everybody wants me to be a mentor and all the likes. And for the first time in my life, I noticed that one of my mentees gave me the feedback that she's having communication issues with me. So I began to wonder, then I wanted to find out more. What could be the problem? She said, I try to make concepts a bit complex when I'm trying to explain them to her. Then that was the very first time somebody's given me a negative feedback as a mentor. So I am trying to seek for advice in terms of mentoring different kinds of mentees. What is the best approach when communication becomes a problem?
So one, that tells you her communication style is different. So is her learning style. And so because of that, that goes into a whole new thing. And so if that is the case, if someone is giving you feedback like that, and there's only one person and it's a few people, then you definitely want to make sure that you're working with them one-on-one, right? And you're constantly seeking feedback from them at more points than you normally would. Sometimes we'll share a whole, we'll give our advice on something on a whole topic, and then we'll see feedback. For that person, you may want to just break that topic down into steps and say, do you have any questions, right? And then go, to break it down into smaller pieces, because that just tells me that that person has a different communication style and a different learning style. And that person you may not be the fit for them. It doesn't mean you're a bad mentor. It just means that y'all have different personalities. And like I say, if you take the personality test and you do some of those, you'll learn like what different personalities and personality traits people have that you can lend to. And that person just may be slightly different than anyone else that you have mentored before, or a different personality type than you have mentored before. But it doesn't mean you're a bad mentor. It just means that that's not the style that that person responds to. And so definitely take it into consideration when you're working with the other mentees, because you also want to get their feedback. You want to always allow them to speak freely about, or giving you feedback and what they like and don't like and all of those good things, because that really helps. And making sure if it's just one person, then it may just be not a good fit. If it's everyone, then you have to do some reassessment. And even if it's one, you can do some reassessment, and I encourage that no matter what. But then you just have to be able to, what we call in education is differentiation. You got to differentiate for each mentee, and that may be a little different. And that is a whole thing in itself. And even if you look up that term in the education world, it'll give you a lot on how you can do that in different ways. Accommodations, modifications, things that you can do, maybe even in your languaging and the word choice you're using, because it may even be something about her, like the vocabulary. Maybe her vocabulary is different from yours. And her knowledge base around the vocabulary and the jargon or the terminology you're using may not be where others starting, because we all start at different points. And sometimes people start a little lower and with less skills and knowledge in an area than others that you typically work with. So it could be so many things, but it's definitely something to assess and really think about. So it's communication, and it's how she's understanding the concepts. So those are two of the places that you'll just start trying some different things. And if you're noticing nothing is working, you know, whether you ask more, you give more opportunities for questions or feedback, or you give more, you know, you say things differently. If some of these things don't work, then yeah, then it may be something bigger. I hope that helped. I hope that answered your question. It's probably muted again, so we probably need to unmute. So, so you can definitely tell me in the chat.
Okay, maybe Favor, we take the last question. We see Gaius, you can unmute.
Okay. Gaius, I've asked you to unmute. Gaius.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yes.
Right,
Yeah,
good.
I hear you.
Thank you very much, and Dr. Tammy, for this session. I actually had to pen down some things that you talked about. It's actually something that I believe that it will actually help me not just to mentor, but also to submit myself mentorship. Yes, so, and over the years, I've actually tried to mentor a few sets of persons, and like just the two, and the person that spoke recent made mention of and the request to actually mentor others. They actually reach out to him to mentor them. I've actually experienced something of that sort also. Quite a number of persons that actually reach out to me to mentor. And sometimes you have to ask yourself that, what exactly are they seeing in me to actually mentor them? And they keep coming. And sometimes you have to drop some others and refer them to others. And sometimes you have to pick others. But regardless, I've observed that I've selected quite 2-3 persons to mentor. And yes, there have been quite some slight hitches when it comes to communication and everything. But what better way do you think that beyond just mentorship, you can actually have a wholesome and understanding of their growth? Like in the sense that, can you just choose to say, okay, fine, I choose to mentor you in this particular aspect of your life, but I'm not so involved in this aspect of your life, I would choose to refer you. Or it's while mentoring, you have to be involved in the wholesome part of that person's life. I don't know if you get me.
Yes, I do. So one, yeah, when somebody's, and this is for the previous person too, like if someone is seeking you out and you're like, why are y'all seeking to ask them? See, like how do you feel I can help you as your mentor? And they'll tell you. You don't have to say, don't say it like, what about me you like? You don't have to say it that way to make it sound negative, but just say, you know, how do you feel I can help you? Like you're trying to set up a strategy, you know, do it in a strategic way and asking them and see what it is. And that may tell you some of the things they see in you. Sometimes it's just your personality. Sometimes it's actually what you know. So yeah, so that's one thing. The other thing, okay, so let's talk about the word mentorship. Are you mentoring or are you coaching? So that's one thing. Mentorship should provide space to mentor several people at one time, because you're not devoting tons of time to one person. You're you're spreading it out, and the time is whatever time you decide is agreed upon. So one, there you could reach capacity, right? You could reach capacity and you have too many. But then you have to decide, what could that look like if this person, you have been a mentor for them for a long time. Maybe you don't meet with them as often. Maybe those people who are new to you as mentees, you meet with them more often, but then you have a process for what we like to call like babies, you know, weaning them from being connected to you all the time, right? And that way you have, and I always think about it because that's how I learned about research. You always have research you're starting, research you're in the process of doing, and research you are completing and it's moving its way out. So I think about that the same way, and that you're publishing. So I think of that the same way as mentorship. You should have mentors that are new to you that you may devote a little more time because you're really trying to onboard them. You're trying to get them acclimated to your process and the way things work and how your mentorship relationship will work. You're going through that negotiation phase and you're negotiating what this looks like and what works for each of you. But then you have some who have been with you for a while. You have been mentoring them for months, maybe years, and you move them into another process where now you maybe don't meet with them as much, or you may check in with them, but you don't have actual sessions where you're sharing a lot of knowledge. It may shift from more knowledge to just accountability. And the time you spend with them grows less. It's not as often or as long when you do meet. So if you do meet on a regular basis and you like to meet weekly with your mentees, that's fine. But maybe a new mentee, you meet with them 30 minutes to an hour. But someone who's been in the program a while, maybe you meet with them for 15, 20 minutes, right? And so your time, and then you have those that have been with you for a long time, they've achieved their goals, they're rocking and rolling, they're doing what they need to do. Maybe you just have points where you check in with them to make sure they don't falter, that they don't give up, that they don't quit, that they keep going, or if something new, that they're aware and they continue to set new goals. And so you have this process where not everyone gets the same amount of attention because they're not at the same point. And that goes into that differentiation I was talking about, is creating this idea for where people are and meeting where people are and how that journey begins. So, and what that process looks like. I don't know what it looks like for you. I know that 𝙎𝙀𝙆𝙀𝙆 is a peer-to-peer mentorship, and I do know that, but some of the other things I'm not as clear about, but just something to think about. What does that process look like? And is it maybe a way to stagger them where it's more manageable and get the feedback you need and necessary to keep going? I hope that helped. And I see a lot of questions are now popping up.
A lot of the chat box, but we don't have enough time to take them. Maybe we'll private chat to with the questions. What about that?
All right. So what about if a mentorship is paid? Does it equate to coaching or is it still mentorship? Well, it depends on the structure. Most mentorships are considered free, but if it's a paid mentorship, then it may just be the amount of time. So just like Gharius was just talking about, he devotes a lot of time. So if you're devoting a lot of time, then it may be paid. Because it may be equated to your time. Your time is precious too. So it's not just your knowledge, it's your time. So both of those are very precious. So it may be because of the time that you're devoting to them. But you're not necessarily walking them and holding their hand. So it's more or less what it looks like, right? A coaching is where you hold their hand, you walk them through it, you help them check off each thing. You don't leave them to be to their own devices and to do things on their own. You're really guiding them.
Okay, someone asked if we can get access to your slides.
So I can, well, they're live. They're out there in the world already since this is being live streamed. But I can definitely share them. I'll share them, and in that way, you can have them. All right.
Okay. Thank you so much, Dr. Tammy, for your time. This was an insightful session. I appreciate it. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
I'll hand over to Doc to present our award. We have an award presentation for you today. So over to you, Doc.
Oh,
yeah.
Me.
So Dr. Tammy, really, thank you so much. I think you did like I expected. You said we shouldn't have that much expectation, but I had. And I must say that it has been really eye-opening. A lot of insights, I think also with your experience as an educator and a teacher, right? You've really broken down it in the most, I would say, enough, not big, but enough and sufficient that we could digest. So really, thank you so much. Really appreciate that. So I would go right to share. The award is a token of appreciation that we have to share with you. And I'm going to go right to it in a moment. One second. Okay. So I hope you can see my screen.
I can.
Yeah, this is an honorary award from the camp presented to Dr. Tammy Francis for her valuable contributions towards education, career development, and inspiring the youth. So really, so much. We appreciate that you took the time, you shared so much value, and to the almost 200 people that joined today, I think we are all living with a lot of insights, a lot to do. In fact, I just kind of screenshot the tags that you gave today and shared it in the TCAM platform, and that will be one of their tasks for the week. So we are really purpose-driven, and really thank you for re-emphasizing that aspect. So thank you very, very much.
You're welcome. You're welcome. Thank you.
Thank you so
This is
much,
awesome.
Dr.
Beautiful. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, everyone. All right, we've come to the end of today's session. Hope you've gotten a lot of insights from what Dr. Tammy taught us today. If you didn't learn anything, just know that you have to become more. Just have that at the back of your mind. Just have to become more. Whether you like it